Well, once again, Jai Baba, and thank you for putting up with us again. Oh, and since Chris mentioned about people wanting to volunteer for the Southeast Gathering, I assume it's for next year, I want to take this opportunity to say thank you to all who's concerned with organizing this gathering in appreciation of all your love and hard work. Yeah, thank you. It really, we feel so honored to be here. Thank you. Okay. Hello. Now what? I done my bit.
Number 4 is not working. Hello. Hello.
I don't know. Yeah.
Okay, let's roll it. Come on, let's finish quickly.
Well, truly, I don't know what other Baba stories I can share with you concerning my time with Baba. I pretty much exhausted all the stories. So I suggested to Chris, maybe I can share some stories of my life with Viloo and Sarosh. Is that okay? Yeah, I mean, quite a few of you folks have stayed there, so you would know. So the household that I was born in belonged to Sarosh and Villu, and as I said yesterday, the first 13 years of my life, they were my parents, and their 3 children were my siblings. But just to give a little background to Sarosh, he and Amrit Irani were first cousins. Sarosh's father and Amrit Irani's mother were brother and sisters. So Sarosh was brought up in Kushu quarters, what we know as a trust office now. And as a 16, 17-year-old, one day he accompanied Amrit Irani's mother, Gulmai, to visit Baba in Pune. I think Sarosh had gone to Bombay for some reason, and on his way back, Gulmai went to receive him at the railway station, and she said, before we go back to Nagar, I want to go and visit this person. So she said, you come along with me. They got into a tanga, and they went to the see Baba. So Gulmai got out of the tanga and went to take Baba's darshan, and Sarosh was sitting in the tanga. So Baba must have noticed him and said, who's that? So Gulmai said, well, it's my nephew Sarosh. So Baba apparently said, call him. I have a lot of work with him. And that's how Baba got Sarosh into his fold. And of course, he, on top of everything, he told Sarosh, you know, Sarosh, one day I'm going to make you a king. And sure enough, Sarosh was at one time known as the uncrowned king of Ahmednagar. Yeah. So growing up in this household, we were like prince and princesses. Everywhere we went, they would know, oh, those are Viloo and Sarosh's kids. So we'd always get VIP treatments. In those days, of course, Nagar was a very small town, hardly any traffic on the roads. Sarosh, in fact, had a dealership for General Motors, yeah? So he would get these fancy big American cars, which we'd drive in, and, you know, we'd think we are royalty, yeah? So, yeah. But, you know, Sarosh, of course, Baba gifted him with this, but he had no head for business. When I say business, of course, he opened up Sarosh Motors. He opened up the cinema, Sarosh Cinema, where Baba would have him put on a movie for the monthly 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. Yeah. And then at one time, he owned 5, 6 petrol stations in town, property, but he had no interest in all this. He was doing it because, it was gifted to him by Baba. So at the end of his life, he was pretty much bankrupt. Yeah. But it didn't stop him from living like a king. Yeah, he was very lavish and very generous, to the point that one day Viloo went to Baba and complained and said, Baba, Sarosh is spending money, borrowing money. How am I going to survive? I got these children to take care of. And look at him. So Viloo said, Baba pointed to his heart and said, what a big heart. She said, but what am I going to do with a big heart? I need money to survive on. So Baba said, don't worry, Viloo, I will take care of you. And I'll fast forward to that some other time. But right now, so Sarosh, let's say, at the time of his death, he'd incurred a lot of debt. So he died just a month before Amrit and I came back from England to help Viloo run Viloo Villa, where a lot of you guys came and stayed. And Sarosh had, as I say, accumulated a lot of debt, and he had, given these chits. In those days, people honored them, IOUs, yeah? So they would come to Viloo with these scraps of paper and say, look, Sarosh owes us this money. Now, sometimes Viloo would be irritated and said, is that right? Then go up there and collect it from him. Why are you coming to me? But no, she paid off every single penny. And why? Because she would say, Baba promised me he'd take care of me. And it was through running Viloo Villa as a guest house, earning that income, she paid back all her debts. So during this period when Sarosh had very little left, one day Baba turns to Sarosh and says, Sarosh, I need 5,000 rupees for my work. Sarosh didn't say, Baba, but I don't have any money, you know that. So he said, okay, Baba. So the next morning he comes back with a check for 5,000 rupees and he hands it to Baba. I said, Baba, you asked me for 5,000 rupees, here it is, but it's your responsibility to cash it. Because there's no money in the bank. And then one other humorous incident concerning Sarosh, after Baba dropped the body, I think it was in 72, Sarosh was invited to give, share his Baba stories here in America. So he came over here, and of course, he was invited to the Sufi Center. Murshid Adus invited him. So he was there. And of course, they bombarded him with all sorts of questions, the book and stuff like that. And then on one occasion, somebody said, Sarosh, do you know who the 5 perfect masters of the time are right now? So Sarosh said, well, I don't know about the other 4, but I'm one of them. Yeah. So Viloo, of course, in 1952, Sarosh accompanied Baba to the States here. And he, in fact, he was driving the second car at the time of the accident. Yeah. So he was with Baba for, I don't know, how long that visit was, I don't know, a month, 2 months, I don't know. But during his absence, Viloo started to run his business back in Ahmednagar. And for the first time, the business was making a profit. So of course, when Sarosh came back, Viloo said, Sarosh, why don't you let me handle this business? Because I'm, earning up money. You're always losing money. But of course, Sarosh would have none of it, and soon she was back, to being a housewife. But again, Sarosh never let us feel that there was any shortage of anything. Yeah.
Tell the
was
story
Baba's
of
gift.
making the liquor.
Huh?
Tell the story. She started making the...
No, I can't do that.
Yes, yes. yes, 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 yes.
Well, since it's not uncommon in these parts of the country, no, I'm not saying that.
How do
Okay, so as I say, Viloo was always struggling with making ends meet. So there was this period, it was in the mid-50s, that a governor of Maharashtra called Moraji Desai imposed prohibition. So no sale of alcohol. And Viloo thought, well, not that she drank, mind you, but of course Sarosh did. Parsis, they're fond of their drinks. She said, well, I have this recipe that my mother handed me down. Why don't I make rum? So she set up a little, distillery in one of the bathrooms at Viloo Villa.
So Sarosh should know.
So of course she didn't tell Sarosh. So, and she would bottle this stuff, and then she had a brother, an uncle of mine, who lived in town, and he had you'll be wondering, what kind of a family this is. He had a kind of what you might call a speakeasy, where people would come in for drinks and playing cards and gamble. So she would
His mother's side, not father.
Yeah, Viloo's side, yeah. So Viloo would make the rum, bottle it, and then she'd have poor Raju, who a lot of you know.
You met Raju, yes.
Ferry it to this uncle of ours who lived near Sarosh Motors. So the poor guy, and as I say, it was illegal, so it had to be done very discreetly. So one day the poor guy had 5-6 bottles in a bag, and one of the bottles broke. So of course, big uproar, and he was caught and put in jail. But Sarosh, with his influence, got him out. Then of course,
Sarosh didn't know all along.
No, he had
used
no
to come
idea.
home, and there was a peculiar, very awful smell, because there must be rotting stuff or
So
whatever.
Viloo would say, the sewage is leaking, Sarosh, yeah.
Viloo would say,
whatever.
yes, still leaking.
yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, the long and the short of it, eventually Sarosh did find it out, and of course he destroyed the whole thing.
He broke everything. He went in the...
Anyway.
That's how she made the
Viloo,
money.
Yeah, how her mind worked to survive.
Yeah.
It's
I'll tell one
commendable.
short story about Viloo, and then I'll tell the story which I told you about when Baba asked me to tell a joke, and I told a story to Baba. So Viloo she did everything whatever Baba asked her to do, like a catering and programs and this, that, other. But she and Baba, they were like friends. She didn't believe in him as avatar, God, or what. And so Baba would so often say, Viloo, look, your husband, he loves me so much, and like that. So she says in a hurry, Hindi, English, so it's not my fault, you're the God. So, make me love you. Yeah. So it's not, no. And things like that will go on. And then when she wanted something from Sarosh or something, she will go to Baba. Baba, you're the one, and this, and they will speak in Gujarati. And Sarosh doesn't, then there's that other, and I need, and my daughter is getting married, I need a necklace and things like that. Baba says, Sarosh, do something, And look how she says, Baba, I believe in you, you are the one. And next day, she will again say, oh, Mere Baba is nobody. So it was going on, and Baba would laugh whenever we hear. So then Baba sent her with Sarosh to Hamirpur for Baba program. And there, when she went, and Baba had sent them like his representative, like Baba couldn't go himself, she sent Sarosh and Villu. And when it was 64, And that's the time, from Hamirpur they came to Dehra Dun, and I met them too as a young girl that time. Sorry, I get tickled when I talk to you guys. So when she saw
one thing I want to interrupt. Yes, he told Sarosh, you go to Hamirpur, they're inaugurating a center for me, and from there to Dehra Dun. But he said, you take Viloo with you. And he told Viloo, you tell them about me. So Viloo said, Baba, what do I know about you? You know, I can't talk. She said, don't worry. You just open your mouth and I'll talk.
Yeah. So when she was there, they were given, but now Hamirpur is slightly better, but that time it was very poor, very, very poor. They will eat like one meal and say time meal for money to be able to come and for Baba's darshan and all. So they were given a nice room, whatever they thought is nice, and there was new plastic bucket for their bath and little bed sheets and all that. And she didn't mind anything. She was, as Dara said, they grew up having lots of money in those days, earlier. Then next morning, she says they're having lunch, and she recognized that plastic bucket they were serving the dal. It's the same thing what she used yesterday or that morning for bath. You know, it's like, but usually Viloo was very finicky. But she didn't mind. She says nothing made, there was so much love these people were pouring. They hardly had anything to this, but they were giving their best to us. And that time, first time, she felt like Baba's divinity, Baba's love as avatar for Baba. So after coming to Dehra Dun and all that, she comes back to Ahmednagar and Baba invites them. How did it go? What happens? So Viloo comes to Baba. Baba, sorry Baba, I have treated you very badly. And I said, you're not God, but I think you're God. She declared, telling Baba. And so Sarosh was saying, Baba, she must be wanting something from you. That's why she's saying, you're God. But tomorrow she will change. Then Baba said, not this time. This time she's completely with me. So that's how Viloo and...
But even at the time when she wasn't convinced that Baba was what he was, she would never refuse to do anything for Baba. And Baba would use her. For example, she was one of the first women to learn how to drive. Of course, when she told Sarosh, I want to drive, Sarosh said, Aish, you're a housewife. You don't drive. We got drivers. Why do you need to drive? So apparently, she on the quiet went and learned how to drive on one of Sarosh's trucks. Yeah, she learned that. So of course, eventually, Sarosh had to accept the fact that she knows how to drive. So when Baba found this out, he said, good, because to ferry the women monthly up and down to these early morning cinema shows, Viloo used to do that.
She used to drive, yes.
And as I said the other day, for the catering of the Western men, he gave that responsibility to her. So she would do all that willingly. But, for her to accept him for what he was difficult at that time.
Yeah.
Viloo loved to play cards, yeah? And believe it or not, at one time she was a chain smoker also. Yeah.
Can you imagine? Little Viloo, she was like 4'11" or 5, something like that, but all the time cigarette. Yeah.
So she would say, one of my worst fears was that Sarosh would tell Baba that, I play cards, and I would get an order from him to say, stop playing cards, yeah? But of course it didn't
Baba
happen.
never did.
Yeah.
Okay, now I have a question.
Your father?
I have 3 stories, and I can tell either 1 or 1.5 or 2 short ones. One is, somebody asked me if I would tell about my father who was revolutionary, he was in prison, and he called out for Mr. God, which is a long story. The second one is how my grandmother traveled with a mast from north to till Satara and then to Pune. And third story, which I said when one of these days after we got married, we in Baba's room. No, sorry, before our marriage, when I was invited with my father, when I said, yes, I'll marry Dara, one day I was in Baba's room and Baba said, Katie's telling all these beautiful jokes. I mean, why don't you tell a joke? And I was too shy and I didn't have any joke. But then a little story I remember which I told Baba, and Baba really laughed. So choose which one, small one, medium, or large.
No,
So we'll have Dhuni here, okay?
tell the one about.
Must one?
No. The one, yeah. Tell the one. That
Okay.
your mother and father, how they got married.
Okay, I'll tell two stories. Yeah, I'll tell. Kumar's being in a prison, all that you all know by heart, I'm sure. And you will usually when I'm other places, once in Nashville, I'm telling my father's story, and Peter Nordin was correcting me. Yeah. So he does not know these two stories that well. Yeah. So first I'll tell you how my parents got, then when I start thinking Baba's asking me to tell a joke, and I don't know the joke, but how all of a sudden I remember because the wedding talk was there, with the Mandlis, and people are coming, and also, so this thing was must have been in my head that I'm getting married. So I said, Baba, I'll tell you a story about how my parents got married. Baba said, yes. He knew Kumar and Subhadra very well. So he said, there's a story about, I said, yes, Baba. So what had happened, the story as it goes, both my parents, we are from Dehra Dun and we are mountain peoples, but my father's family came a couple of generations prior to my mother's to Dehra Dun. Dehra Dun is more like a school town, and it became a hill station when the British came and all that. But my mother's side was still in mountains, way far, very close, which is very close to China border now. So my father, as he was, most of the time, working for his revolutionary party, because of that he used to be in prison regularly so often, and he'll be out for some time, and then again. So, and he was the only one child my grandmother had, and her husband died when my father was very young, so it was only mother and son. So all her cousins and relations and all said, why don't you next time when he comes home from jail, from prison, marry him? He's almost in his early 20s, and being with a woman, they might start having children and he will become a family man. He might leave the politics. And so they all decided before he comes, and they start looking around for the girl. When he comes, right away, there will be marriage. So in those days, it was like they not only saw the same community, caste, from the same caste, and same status too. Both sides of my grandparents came from the head of the mountain villages or whatever. They were like, not this thing, they were just head, like you can say, officials, and they were the one who were collecting taxes, and there were songs about them, and there were paintings about them all over in their houses, and they had bigger homes than others. So they were both from that same sort of family, but one father's family was in Dehra Dun. So the family priest said, there's one family, and they described there's this person, and he's got 7 daughters. And my mother was the oldest one, 7 out of the 7. He must be trying for sons, and one after 7 daughters. So, and she's right age, and why don't we? And she's, Brahmin, and there's that. So it was all fixed. So when my father came, and Baba's listening, like it's a long story. It's like how you guys are, and luckily I remembered the whole thing. I did exaggerate a little bit in between to make him laugh, but it's a true story. So, so when father came back after a few months later and all that, And they broke the news. They said, listen, now you have to get married. I'm alone and I want your wife. At least she'll be my company. There'll be kids and we'll have family and all that. So my father said, okay. So they said, oh, we already chose the girl for you. So my father, even that time, I'm talking about like, must be early 30s or something like that, or mid-30s. He refused to marry with arranged marriage. He said, no, without knowing the girl, I won't marry. So they said, but no, the girl stays very far away in mountains and things like that, and we can go there only once, or she can come down and you get married. And all the elders liked her family, so you have nothing to say. My father just refused, said, no, without knowing the person, I'm not going to get married. So a message was sent to my grandfather. It took several days to my mother's side. And then the message comes back, yes, the girl's father said, we are not coming, you can come to the mountains if you want to see the girl. So my grandmother and her brothers and some other people, they said, okay, we'll go, and with Kumar. And if she likes the girls, at least they will get engaged or might get married too. So let's go, the whole entourage should go. So when they started their journey, it was a long journey, because those days, now the buses and cars can go quite high, but those days only halfway you could go on vehicle. But after that, you had to use little mules, mountain horses, short, smaller size, because very narrow paths and all. So they started their journey, 6, 7 of them. And so how my mother's father would know they're coming, they used to have some sort of signals, from there, that yes, the boy and his team has arrived. They're only day away from your place, and then they're only half a day away. Now they're reaching to our village, where they will be in a couple of hours to the house. So meanwhile, my grandfather tells my mother, okay, he thinks too much of himself. He wants to see you and this thing, but let me have interview first with him. And if I like him, then I'll call you, and then you can talk to him, then he can talk to you. So everything was arranged. My mother was no less. She said, how dare, then it's my marriage too. And I'm going to, and why should I be locked inside the house? So what she does, she jumps out of the back window, goes round, there's only one path coming towards their house, and she through the fields and all that, and there's in mountains, we have these oak trees, which are very low, kind of stoop on the valleys and areas. And she says, and she was 16, she climbs that tree, and she knows there's only one way under the tree, the mules will pass by to go to the father's house. She quietly, and oak trees are usually very bushy, small, leaves are very tight, and she hides there. And then she sees there's 6, 7 people are coming, and there's only one young person. And most of them, there were 2 ladies and 3, 4 elders were there, the priest, family priest, and a couple of uncles and all that. So she realized which one is that, it has to be the youngest one. So when these mules came closer and closer to this thing, somehow my father was ahead of other team, and his horse must have felt something over the tree, and he got scared, and he lifted his front legs, and my father fell. My mother, who was looking down, got so scared with the whole situation, it's true, and she fell on top of him. And whole village knew they were together. And there was big, who's this woman, what's this, and what's this? My father liked her right away there. He goes home and things like that. I don't know if there was scolding or not, but everybody liked everybody, and my parents got married. So Baba, holding his face and laughing, his face is going red, and as you know, he can't open his mouth to make sound. So he's going like that. Then he says, wait, the ladies are there to wait. He says, Amrit, I'm getting tired about arranging your marriage. This tamarind tree outside my room, climb up there. When Dara comes, jump on him and everything will be fine.
She's been jumping on me ever since.
Yeah. So Meru, Mani, quite some time in beginning, then that's a tree, you're supposed to climb. So it became a good story, laughed, Baba laughed, and so that's how my parents got married. Yeah. Okay, the other story is, as you know, Baba would often go and himself visit with mast in different places of South India, North India, wherever he went, always starting from before New Lifetime, even after that too. And gradually Baba himself stopped going to these mast, and he will ask either Pindu, who was the mast? Baidul, sorry. And, but then, one second.
Well, he wanted this particular must brought to him.
And I was having water.
What?
I was drinking sip of water. I didn't forget the story.
But just concentrate on that must from Rishikesh.
Yeah.
Baba wanted.
So Baba sent Baba came to know there is one must who was in Rishikesh, and he should be brought to him, to Satara. So Baba sent the message that by that time Kumar and Kishan Singh and Balkishan, all these old Baba people, they were younger than us that time. And they were there. Baba sent the message, one of you bring him to me, travel with him, the must, and from Rishikesh and bring. But he put conditions and saying, any one of you who are busy or have any responsibility and you shouldn't leave that, you have to be completely free and you have to be very honest about it. Otherwise, anybody would leave whatever important work you have and go for, to visit with Baba. So they all start talking with each other. And they realized that everyone, my father had some court case going on. Other one said, my consignment is coming of something. Noshaman's father used to be there to Kekinnarawala. And then other one, they said, each one of them said, we can go and you don't want me to tell the first part of the story?
Which is what?
My grandmother's young lady. Okay, now I should tell the other part, otherwise this story won't complete. Okay. So anyway, my grandmother is listening. All this, this men talking with each other and telling each other, that, can you go? No, I can go, but I can't go because of this and other. There were 6, 7 of them. So my grandmother says, I'll take the must, I'll go. So they say, no, you're a woman, how can and musts are, like in simple language, mad people and, with their whims and all that. So they say, no. So she said, but you don't have anybody, all of you are so busy. So let me take him, ask Meher Baba. And she, by the time, she was loving Baba too, completely. Baba used to call her Mataji. So my father sends a telegram to Baba, Baba, none of us are free as according to you that we should be free to come. But my mother insists that she will travel with the mast. So Baba sends a telegram, okay, yes, let Mataji bring the mast to Satara. So now there's another story is there with this story parallel to that. When my grandmother, my father's mother, when she was a young girl, as I said, they were from mountains and all that. They were her parents were head of their village and their tribe, whatever. So they had their duties too, some obligations too. And one was they're like a high priest too. And any occasions of any spiritual day or something, they have to be at the temple and prayer and all that. And it used to be very difficult ones sometime, like this one for Lord Shiva, which Hindus call it the ancient one. It was, his birthday was coming, and they were my grandmother's family when she was only 7-year-old, preparation is going on, and my grandmother's mother and father supposed to go to this temple, do their prayers, and come back, and then the celebration will start in the village. To go to this temple, which was in another higher hills, would take a couple of days to go. And the condition the villagers has put in those days to these high priest and priestess, that you not to carry in food with you, not to wear shoes, and you walk through, and it was all forest and hills and all that, and you have to walk like that to the temple, do your prayers, and come back. So my grandmother, all our families were not less than, they were all like me. I'm like them. She says, I'm coming too. So my grandparents, are you kidding? This path is very difficult. It takes 2-3 days to reach to the temple. No food. We'll eat berries and some roots and whatever, She says, no, I want to come and start, like making big fuss. So grandparents said, but if she comes, she will delay us and we have to reach before certain time because, there's like 2.5, 3 days time. We have to reach to the time with a child. So my grandmother tells me, if you don't take me, I'll start following you. So they said, okay. So they took her along. So after maybe day and a half, whatever, they're walking and my grandmother stops. So her parents look back and say, see, that's why we didn't want you to bring. You're tired and you can't come. And we have to go on time to these temples to perform the prayers. So she said, no, listen. So her parents came to her and they start saying, what? And then they heard this from the jungle. They nobody no other villages or huts or anything. And they could hear this chanting, a shloka in Sanskrit. And you want to hear it? So when they heard this sound, they start going towards that voice, that sound where this shloka is coming. And then when they went closer to there's this big tree under that. So that my grandmother told us this story when we were growing up, what had happened to her and her parents. So they came to under the tree, and there's this completely nude, mast like a sadhu sitting on the tree in a lotus position, and there's this dhuni is in front of him, this fire is burning, and from the side he will gather warm ashes because the mountain is cold, so he will throw now and then these ashes on him like that, and he's chanting this shloka. And it goes like that. It is a Shiva's prayer, so that sadhu was Shiva's devotee. It goes, He Vedanti Vyapak Varde Gaganancha Surjas Chandro Kal Vahino Hari Rudro Hari Rudro. So the meaning is beautiful. It's just again praying to the one you are who's Vyapak, who is grand, who's everywhere, who's high, who's as high as the skies, as bright as sun, Surjas Chandra, on Chandra, the moon, and beautiful like moon. The one who's like that, I bow to you, I pray to you, I pray to you. Hari is one of the God's name too, Hari Rudra. And one name is Rudra, like Rudraksh comes from that word. You know the Rudraksh bead? Never mind, you don't know anything. So, and he's chanting, he didn't even notice this, one little girl and two guys are sitting, and he was keep on chanting. And so my grandmother tells she realized there must be some villages close by because there were some fruits were there, some wild fruits in front of him. So however it happened. Anyway, my grandmother's parents felt their journey is completed. They said they're so long, they forgot about the time. It was so beautiful listening to this chanting. And they thought it's a Shiva's darshan. And they just sat there, and after a while later, they decided to come back home. They felt inside their journey, the spiritual journey is completed, and the three of them come back home. Then she gets grown up, gets married, and now this scene is happening at our place about bringing the mast. So now another order of Baba had given to these guys who, were preparing to send the mast with my grandmother now to Satara, not to tell him that Mir Baba has called him. So they said, how are we going to tell a must, that, can't drag him, can't just... So anyway, so my grandmother and my father, they both went to Rishikesh, and they asked, several people, his name was Neelkant Baba, they called him Neelkant Baba. So my father asked the people, do you know where the Neelkant Baba is? So somebody said this way, that way, there, and it was towards the Rishikesh goes, if you go further Rishikesh, you go to the same mountains where our forefathers lived and all that. So they said, yes, there's one behind that Shiva's temple for a long time, and he's sitting, and his name is Neelkant. So my father and grandmother, when they start approaching towards that side where supposed to be this mast, my grandmother heard that same chanting, same voice, same words. And so she tells my father, don't worry, I know what to say to him. And they both go to Neelkant. And my grandmother gives hand to him. He's again sitting exactly in the same position. Yes, other thing, she was a young girl. Now she's in her 60s when she has to travel with this thing. There was no change in this sadhu, this mast, this Neelkant. She recognizes this Neelkant is the same which she saw in mountains, and chanting him. It looked exactly the same. There's a dhuni in front of him. He's taking ashes and throwing on him and saying, He Vedanti Vyapak Vardhe, and chanting the same lines. So my grandmother gives hands to him. She says, Baba Ji. Ji is for respect. Baba, all the elders are called Baba too. And sadhus and all, they call them all Baba. They say, Baba Ji, it's time to go. He gave her his hand. See the preparation that from the time when she was 7-year-old. That's Baba's story. And he holds her hand, completely nude. They bring her to Dehra Dun. Now I'm around 7 years old at home. It was 9th of July, next day is Silence Day. So he comes to tell you, if you see a nude person or something like that, it will be laughing matter or disgusting matter, whatever. With him, it wasn't like that. It was like you see a little baby without clothes, or when we saw this mast, I was the youngest daughter, I had elder sisters, like 12-year-old, 14-year-old. None of us felt that he's nude. There was nothing. He was so beautiful, so healthy, and very tall, big person. And my father had those armchairs, like the type of chair which Mansari has in a kitchen. We had cloth like that. And he goes and plonks himself and sits down like that. So, and he's from Rishikesh, from mountains, and Dehra Dun is much warmer than, even though it comes under the same district. So he was feeling hot and he was sweating. So my father gave me fan, to me and my younger brother. We both stood both sides of him. We fanned him. He's 5-year-old, I'm 7. We're fanning him, not laughing, no nothing. After some time later, my father bought some fruits for him, and I don't remember if he was eating them or what. But then my father said to him, Babaji, tomorrow is 10th of July, and it's all happening in Hindi, a local language, and tomorrow is 10th of July, and it is our silence day. None of us will be talking. So here's your fruits, here's this thing, and all that. I must have shown him the bathrooms and all that, whatever. And yes, I forgot one thing. So when he came home, he's still chanting the same line, nothing else, not talking, just saying things. Me too, I heard him as a 7-year-old, same chant, same shloka. And completely mesmerized by, he could be Baba. And then my father told him, tomorrow we won't talk. As soon as my father said that, he closed his mouth, he stopped chanting on 9th hour evening. Just there were no more words for him. He was like that. So for a little while we stood there, then we were called to our rooms and all that. I don't remember what happened. It's the 10th of July. He's completely silenced, not a word, not chant, nothing, no nothing. And I don't remember how his day passed by, went by. Then comes the 11th, and I see that everybody's running around. Mother's making packed lunches, and grandmother is doing her bedding rolls ready, and some towels been tucked, and take soaps, and grandfather is giving instructions to mother. This is your tickets, and those days you have to change stations many times before you reach to come to Satara. And there in Delhi you have to get down, then you have to wait. This train will come from Punjab side, and you have to catch that bogie, and all that explanation was given to my grandmother. And he's completely silenced, not talking, not a word from him. Then the family must have taken him to railway station, and parents came back home. Then we didn't hear what happened after that. What I heard was at Mandli Hall, Mani Auntie telling us all and visitors, pilgrims, what had happened with Mataji. They all called her grandmother Mataji, and the Neelkant, the mast. So how the story goes after that, that when my grandmother, so now they looked same age, like, he never aged, and she was almost in her 60s. So there were people will come and they didn't recognize him. They didn't see that beauty on him. They will say, hey, tell this man to cover himself. He's sitting without, and our ladies are here. So my grandmother would now and then will pick up a towel, put it on his lap at least, so he's not exposed completely. But him being must, he will sit down, the towel will slip down and all that. And so my grandmother tells us once, she almost fell asleep. All of a sudden, a whole train must have stopped, and this man came with his harem, like a whole bunch of ladies with him. And they all started shouting at my grandmother, cover your husband. Yes. And so she looked at them, she says, listen, you're covered, your husband is covered, made one man all their husband, like cursing them back. And you all covered, and leave me and my husband alone. Yeah. Then she comes, and he's silenced, no word from him. So grandmother comes to his ear and said, do you know what's happening? Why are they all getting angry? Because they want your kamandal. He had that begging bowl made out of gold. They carved that, make handle on top part and bottom parts remain round. That he always had with him. And he used to drink water from that, and, that was his one thing he had on him. So my grandmother, she says, do you know what's happening? They want your kamandal, this thing, begging bowl. So he popped his eyes, grabs that, puts it on his lap and holds that. And that's how he traveled whole way. He wouldn't let that go. So at least he was covered, Yeah. So then Mani Auntie was telling that, sometimes train will stop, they had to change. And most of our railway stations now is slightly better, but those days used to have taps on the side on platform. And he was always hot, being from mountains. So he will see anywhere tap or something, he will go and sit down under the tap. And there were some people who will just, say, what this nonsense type of attitude they had. But some people who recognized him went and started bathing him. Even ladies, men, washed his back, put water on him. Yes, my grandmother must have told that to Mani and all. So anyway, so like that, the journey was almost complete. So before leaving Dehra Dun, my father has given her these instructions, you go this way, that way. When you reach to your final railway station, stay there. Baba is sending the car with a couple of Mandli members, and they will take you in the car to Baba. So when my grandmother must reach to this railway station, up till now, they have to change train a couple of times. Whatever my grandmother said, he did. He never sort of, but now the final railway station, he leaped out of the train before my grandmother could collect her belongings and all that, and saying, Baba, wait, the car is coming for us, somebody's coming to meet, I don't have address and we can't go anywhere, we have to be in railway station. He left the station, came out of the station, and like she was described, like a lion, he's leaping, he's walking on the street and going, and my grandmother, small lady with all that luggage and all that, running after him, and for quite some time, and then when time comes, they reach to this crossroad, and he goes and stops there, and my grandmother literally in tears said, now what? Those people who must have come to railway, it happened like for a long time he was walking, and they won't see us, they will think we have missed the train, or and we don't know where to go now. So like king, he lifts his hand up and points one direction. My grandmother says, okay. Now they already lost, so less. So they both started walking where he pointed, and after walking another quite a thing, and he's again just running literally, no words. My grandmother is going behind him. They read Avatar Meher Baba gate, and there's a board up there. Of course, grandmother should have known with whom she's traveling, but like...
Satara.
Satara. So, now the Mani auntie tells the scene at the Satara where Baba was staying in this bungalow. He was always early riser, but very early, and he's pacing up and down, and then he sends a message towards the ladies' side, get my best coats and sadras and all, dress me up nicely, and his hair and all that. And way before time, he goes and sits down in Mandli Hall on the chair, in Satara Mandli Hall, on the chair. And sure enough, the person who's supposed to be coming car, going somewhere to wash up, or then coming to visit Baba, door is open, and he's walked straight to Baba. First word he spoke after so many days, from 9th of July, maybe a couple of days of traveling, 10th of July was in between. He says, Mukti. First word, liberation, to Baba. And Baba, I think his alphabet board or hand or something put on his head. And my grandmother was saying he was weeping so much, all his chest and everything was full of like somebody thrown a bucket of water on him. He's weeping in front of Baba and said one word, Mukti, and he on his knees sat in front of Baba, and they embraced. Then ladies came, took my grandmother, and she does not know what happened after that. Even I don't know what happened after that. But he was with Mandli. I think he was sent to Mehrabad later on. Mm-hmm. And so this is my grandmother's story. So just to finish the story, my grandmother is with ladies' side. And of course, Baba would come that side to eat. And now and then he will ask to Mataji, how are you? How's your traveling? What would you like to? She stayed 1 month with Baba that time. What would you like to do? You want to see somewhere? You want to go somewhere? You want to do anything which you haven't seen or done or anything? So she always said, no, Baba, I'm happy here with you. But when she has to go back via Bombay. So Baba was sending her by car or I don't know how she had to go to Bombay. So she says, Baba, I never seen the ocean. Yeah, so Baba says, yes, you go to Bombay and Nawaz, Nariman, other Baba lovers, they will show you the ocean and all that. Because we are from mountains, we have Ganges and we have Yamuna and other rivers, but not like ocean. So then she goes to there, and now Arnavas tells when she came to Bombay and they took her on the motorboat, and they went quite inside where you couldn't see the land. And she got up and the thing, she said, so much water. And they always used to tease me, your grandmother said, there's so much water. And then she comes back home. And when she is back at home, she had glaucoma, as a thing. And it was treated, it was this thing, but was given drops and all that. But when she reached home, one eye was really bad by the time, she was in her 60s, but other eye she could see clearly. She came and second day she started complaining to my father that my second eye is bothering me and I'm not able to see clearly. So immediately she was taken to see the ophthalmologist to find out then if her other eye got the glaucoma effect and all. So doctor said, yes, his case is, quite bad thing, and we can't operate. If we operate, there's very few chances she might see, might not, whatever vision she has, she might even lose that vision too. So you decide. So my father comes back with grandmother home, and they said, in those days, anything happening in our life, we always, Baba was told what's happening. So my father sends the telegram or letter to Baba, saying, Baba, Mataji just arrived back home, but her eyes have become weaker than ever before, and doctors give no guarantee. They say we can operate, but we don't give any guarantee she might be able to not see anything. And what should we do? Like asking Baba's opinion. So Baba sends the telegram, Mataji, after seeing me with those eyes, what else would you like to see? When she was there, he would ask her, you want to see something? You want to go somewhere? You want to do anything? But now he sends a telegram. What else would you like to see after seeing me? My grandmother refused to go to any more doctors or eye specialists or operation. She was couple of years' time, she was completely blind. I was growing up. I was taking care of her. Sisters got married and things. Then Baba asked me if I would marry Dara. How's the life? Yeah. So that's my second story. Yeah.
Thank you, dear Baba, dear folk.